USA Warrior Stories is a not-for-profit organization designed to record, archive, and share videos of veteran stories, to help veterans make a connection with one another and to help us all better understand their sacrifices for our freedoms.
John Lopez, USA Warrior Stories, Enduring Warrior, take one.
Yes, sir. So my name is Jonathan Lopez. I serve in the United States Army. 1st Infantry Division, known as the Big Red One.
The legacy of the 1st Infantry Division dates back to 1917, when General John Blackjack Pershing arrived in France with the 1st American Expeditionary Force. During World War II, the 1st Infantry Division was the first to reach England, the first to fight the enemy in North Africa and Sicily, the first on the beaches of Normandy and D-Day, and the first to capture a major German city. In the summer of 1965, the Big Red One was the first division called to fight in Vietnam. On November 8, 1990, the 1st Infantry Division was called to lead the way during Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. By 1999, the division deployed twice to the Balkans, where they patrolled the streets and countryside of Kosovo until June of 2000. In March of 2003, the division took a more direct role in Operation Iraqi Freedom. In April of 2012, the headquarters of the Big Red One assumed command of military operations in eastern Afghanistan. In 2014, the Big Red One again answered our nation's call, this time to aid Iraqi security forces against ISIL during Operation Inherent Resolve.
I started between 1996 and I got separated from the military in '02, late '02. I was born in St. Petersburg, Florida. My mother was very young when she had me, so I grew up with my grandmother in Venezuela. I returned to the United States at the age of 16, and the military was always something that attracted me because I never, as I said, I didn't have plans for college. I didn't have plans for staying nearby with family. I wanted to join something, be part of something greater than myself. I always admired soldiers. Joined the military with one purpose, and it was I was seeking special forces. I completed during my military training, airborne school, Ranger indoctrination program, and shortly after I was in the Big Red One, as I said, the 1st Infantry Division. At that time, they were stationed in Germany, and it was late 90s, so there was a lot of movement between, like Kosovo, Bosnia, like the units were in and out, I was there for 2.5 years. So I served briefly on a sniper team. We pretty much conducted reconnaissance, and shortly after I was assigned to a dismount unit. They were a mechanized, back then they were a mechanized unit with Bradleys, so I was part of the ground forces. We were performing something called the UNPL, the United Nations Patrol Line. During those times, there was a lot of weapons trafficking and a lot of immigration problems through those countries. The genocides were being conducted. While I was in there, I was continuing to seek the path that I wanted to take, which was special operations. I remember my orders came in before my last deployment, and I wasn't authorized to go to Special Forces selection because we needed every single one of us to attend this deployment. I was pretty upset at the time because I was like, I don't belong here. I want to go to this Special Forces. Coming back from that deployment, I think I must have gotten it in January or February. We got home.
What year?
Sure, 2000. So shortly after that deployment, I finally attended selection for Special Forces, and as I came back home, and a week later is when I lost my arm. I did my deployments. I didn't get a single scratch. Back in my base, I was stationed in Germany at the time, 1.5 miles away from the base. I was hit by a German national, a drunk driver. Yeah, that's where my story differs from a lot of people. When I started this path, I accepted the risk involved with the job. As I said, I jump out of airplanes for a living. I play with C4. I knew at any point I could have been wounded. what I couldn't accept was the circumstances, you know, like waking up in a hospital, missing a limb, because, for a lack of better explanation, because someone else decided to drink and drive, was very hard for me. I was in recovery for a very long time. Honestly, in and out of surgeries for probably about 7 to 8 months. I had what is called a traumatic amputation, which is I lost my arm on the scene of the accident. 7 fractures to my leg, including an open fracture, which is my femur came out through the skin. They were fighting. I can't even remember how many surgeries I had on my leg. Like, I have metal rods replacing the femur, the tibia. I had to have bone grafts from my hip to it. More than missing the arm, like, I was now missing part of who I was. I was no longer a soldier. And to be honest, at the beginning, it was hard to me to identify as a veteran because of circumstances of my accident. I didn't have anywhere else to go, so I stayed at Walter Reed until I was discharged. I continued through my physical rehabilitation. I fought my retirement a lot. I was a young, very proud infantry guy, and even through these injuries, I couldn't understand why I was getting retired. And I remember actually, like, people telling me, "You gotta get out," and I was like, "You're slightly overweight. Like, can you want to go for a run to see who's in better shape?" Yeah, I was something. But so while you're injured and you're a Walter Reed, technically it's not a PCS. I'm still part of my unit. So for that year or so, every day when they do formation, my name will still come up and they say he's out, he's on medical treatment, blah, 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 at Walter Reed. Got to the point that after a year that my name was still in roster, our battalion commander happened to be in Washington, and he came to see me. And I thought it was so awesome to see general stopping by and say, like, he sent me to Belgian Commando School. Like, he was our lead through Ranger Indoctrination Program. That the guy was pretty much a role model for me. So when he came to see me, I was so happy. And then he came to see me kind of like to yell at me. He was like, "Lopez, why is your name still on my roster?" And I was like, "Because I'm not getting out, sir. I'm still getting stronger and whatever." And he told me, "Sign the papers and get out." He's like, "This is what I'm gonna tell you, you know, off the book, off record, whatever." He's like, "You're never gonna return to our unit, you know? You're missing an arm, you know? If you happen to stay in the military, you're gonna stay in Washington, D.C., working behind a desk, and they're gonna pull you to the front whenever they need a picture with a wounded soldier or something like that." He's like, "Take your retirement, go to school, and do something with your life." So that was kind of like the wake-up call of, like, this is it. Like, I don't know what I was thinking since I was young. Like, I thought they would attach a bionic arm or they'll put something else. Like, I really thought I was eventually gonna go back. So that was it. I started my retirement process, and
What year is this?
2002. And when I retired, I prospected many universities, and I decided to go to New York City. That's where I went to school. I was told there is only 2 times in your life that you can move to New York, and it's when you're very rich or very poor. There is no in between. So I thought it makes sense. I had just gotten out of the military. I had 2 bags in my hand. I just head to New York City. That's where I went to school. Stayed in New York for 2 years. I went to school for a year and a half. My head wasn't there. Like, forget about the benefits of being a student or anything. It's just I couldn't sit in class and focus on what's going on with pretty much when the World Trade Center is a few blocks away from me. It's perspective. I mean, like, I'm taking anything away from anyone, but like, as those kids are sitting down, you know, thinking about where they're gonna go Friday night, I'm watching the news and I'm seeing, like, my unit being deployed and, you know, like, guys getting blown up and, like, all this stuff, and it's always a sense of, like, why not me? Like, you know, why is that one not me? Like, even the guys who are getting blown up, I'm like, that should have been me. And so it was very hard finding a place again. After the accident, being the early 2000s, I'm pretty sure you're familiar with what's going on with the opiates at the time. I was taking Percocets, Oxycontins, all these things, like they were going out of style. And might be a cliche, but it took me hitting rock bottom to get back up. I didn't even know I had an addiction until my kids were born. When my oldest was born in '06, second one was born in '08, and at that point, I really now was looking forward to being around when I was 50 or 60 because I wanted to be for them. Then I just fell out of balance because I wouldn't take it for a week thinking I'm gonna quit, and then I'll rebound and I'll take double because I felt so bad, and then I would run out earlier. Like my life went into started spiraling out of control. These went on for over a year, and 2009, I think December '09, I attempted suicide. I was done. I was done with the battles. I was done with the pain. I was just done with it. I filled out my last bottle of prescriptions at the VA, and I took 90 Oxycontins in the parking lot. Anyways, didn't work. Like, woke up with a very bright light in my face and a tube down my throat. Somebody must have seen me inside the car, passed out.
What year was this?
2010. So that's what it took. It took me hitting rock bottom, me just giving up. So that was the first time, once again, reconnecting with veterans. Immediately after the attempt, after the ER, I was not released. I was sent to that was in Miami at the VA. I was sent to the 5th floor, which is the mental health rehabilitation unit. It's kind of like a residential program. And I got to meet so many other veterans that were going through the same battle, you know? And like that actually helped me put a lot of things into perspective. Like, even however bad I thought I had it, I have my kids, and they deserve better. So after that, I was released on my own to be with my family. It wasn't easy. There were ups, there were downs, there were relapses, but I had hope. Like, now I had hope at that time. After I got back home and I'm getting back on my feet or so, like I don't want to say like I didn't really start the work with veterans, but I started once again like feeling proud of who I was, or like trying to understand. Everything pretty much started on December 2014, 2015. Guy reached out to me. Sergeant First Class Rick Goldberg. He had been injured, non-combat related as well. A few months back, he was stationed at Walter Reed. And his message was, "You look like a tough guy. How about a workout while you're here?" I remember being like, "Who is this guy?" You know? It's like packing my workout clothes, you know, when I go put it on him. And after my visit at Walter Reed, we met up at the gym, which is a CrossFit facility that is located inside of Bethesda Medical Center. And I met up with this guy and Earl Granville and a bunch of other guys. I remember some of them were wearing shirts and shorts with the logo from Operation Enduring Warrior. And I have seen Operation Enduring Warrior through social media in the past. I had no idea who these guys were or what they did. They just looked like really badass guys. You know, it's like usually like going through a course, carrying chains, wearing gas masks. You know, like it was. I didn't know what they did. I was like, holy crap, who are these guys? You know. When I got there, I saw the logos and I was like, "Are you guys the?" And it's like, "Yeah." So, anyways, we worked out. 30 minutes turned into 2 hours, and we're still, you know, doing the army thing, trying to see who's gonna break first. So after 2 hours, I mean, like, It was an amazing day. We stay in contact, and same guy, Rick Colbert, he invited me to attend a race in February where I was the honoree. The honoree are wounded veterans that the organization helps, through physical challenges, obstacle courses, marathons, you name it. That moment changed my life. I'm gonna tell you, like, I always like telling this one because Earl is like one of the most amazing guys that you will meet. My image of Operation Enduring Warrior was just the picture of this guy wearing the gas mask, just completely bulletproof, like nothing can get to these guys. So we're going into my first event, and I swear, 30 seconds into it, Earl Granville, which is, he lost his left leg in Afghanistan. It's a prosthetic leg. We're going into the event, and 30 seconds into it, he trips on something, falls down, rolls, and I think that was the greatest thing I ever saw. Because when I saw him fall, like everyone else can help him back up, and he got back up and continued. I was like, they're not bulletproof. They're just like I am, So he brought it down to a more human side. So back then I was in excellent physical shape, and going through the course, I don't want to say I didn't need their help. I mean, it was relatively easier, but what it did for me is like inspire me to like, I wanted to be one of these guys. I mean, they welcomed me from day one. As I said, like Operation Enduring Warrior it's not an organization that looks into the circumstances of your injury or not. Service connected, but like I was welcoming there. Like I was one of the guys again. I remember actually finishing my first race and being like, so, do I buy a gas mask? Do you guys give me one? How does this work? And they're all laughing like, when it's time. So I was a honoree for that entire year before I applied to become a mask athlete, and I went back through the indoctrination program. So it just cascaded from there. It was like event after event. I would just keep getting connected again with the community. And the more that I got connected, the more that I saw that I was alone. That like, honestly, like my story didn't stand alone. Like there is many guys just like me that, during their military career, they have experienced different things, like not just accidents, cancer, you name it. Or you know what? There is other ones that have got to get out of the military because of family or because whatever things, and they still seek to serve in a certain way. So that's like one of the greatest things. Like this was the first time, once again, that I felt 100%. I was back in uniform. I was back in camouflage. Like I do. I often do public speaking, and standing there, like, rule number one is be 100% honest. Like, there's no point in lying. And that, what I tell people always, like, I can never tell anyone what to do. All I can do is share my mistakes and hoping that they don't make the same mistakes. Like, if there is anyone out there that is feeling like, for whatever reasons, for whatever circumstances, they have lost part of who they are or their identity or just their path, is keep searching, because there is always people out there. And, like your struggles today might help someone in the future, just a little bit. Like, as I say, like, I can't tell you how to succeed. All I can tell you is where I messed up and hoping that you don't step in the same place,